Making sales is actually pretty easy. I'm 18 years old and last month I made $220,000 in profit through sales. It's easy, but most people think it's hard because they're doing the wrong things. I'll give you an example. Very early in my career, I had to learn this. It's like I could have all the energy in the world. I could work as hard as I possibly could. But if I was working for the wrong thing, I wouldn't get anywhere in life.
Hey, Ma, we got chicken or what? Ma!
It's kind of like Google Maps. If I say I want to go to a coffee shop that's a mile away east, and then I accidentally put in the wrong coffee shop that's a mile away west, it doesn't matter how fast I drive or if I'm in a fucking Ferrari or a Lambo or anything else, I ain't gonna get there because I have the wrong target. And that's the exact reason me, when I was 16 years old, I was the #1 rep in a $40 million a year company, out collecting the rest of that team combined. It's because even though I was competing against 40-year-olds who had been in sales for 20 years and I'd been in it for like 6 months, I was just focusing on the right things, the fundamentals that actually drive the results. They, for the last 20 years of their career, had been focusing on the absolutely wrong things, and so they were much better at shit that just didn't matter. And so that's exactly what I'm gonna focus on in this video. What were the main things that I did differently compared to what most people kind of focus on in their career that allowed me to be so successful at such an early age? That way you can copy the exact same thing. #1 is building rapport by sounding like yourself rather than an expert. And if that's what you genuinely believe, oh, I'm gonna build rapport by sounding like me, by being authentic, either #1, you're retarded, which is very, very possible, or #2, the person who taught you is retarded. One of the two. Because think about it this way, I have plenty of friends that I love to death, but I would not pay them $50,000 for fucking anything in my business. Because I can like them, that doesn't mean I respect them. The key to actually building good rapport in a sales call is building respect. So at the beginning of a sales call, rather than asking them questions like, oh, how's your day going? How's the weather? Like, did you watch this football game or whatever other BS? You should just go straight into the topic of the call, because it's gonna show them, okay, this guy's an authority. He's here to speak about whatever we're here to speak about. He doesn't have time to BS about random things. That's gonna elevate your status. So for example, when you first hop on a sales call, let's say I'm selling a fitness program. I could be like, hey, is this John? Okay, can you hear me? Can you see me? And they'll be like, yeah, I can hear you, I can see you. Cool, man, well, it looks like you scheduled some time about like possible help with kind of like getting in better shape, losing some weight, all that jazz. You tell me, man, how can I help? Then they're gonna be like, oh, well, I'm just trying to like lose some weight or whatever it might be. Oh, okay, and what in specific, I guess, do you feel like you need possible help with then? In order to actually like lose that weight, get in better shape, all that jazz. Oh, well, I need a better diet plan. Well, what have you seen that I guess makes you feel like your diet plan like isn't better? Oh, well, I feel like I'm not in a calorie deficit, so I'm not really losing weight as fast as I need to. Great, so what have we done? We're 30 seconds into a sales call. We've already established the intent of this call about this is what we're focusing on. I don't have time to speak about random shit. And we've already uncovered a problem, which gives us leverage in the conversation, because now they're not just there to speak to a salesperson, they're there to actually fix a problem, which is a much higher level of intent. That's how you build actual rapport. Now, #2, don't try to be a copy of somebody. Adapt their style to you. Here's what I mean. There's a lot of 40 or 50-year-old sales trainers that claim to be the GOATs and the best. Now, my issue with that is if I told you right now, think about a 50-year-old that you know in your life and think about one of your best friends at your same age. How similar are they in terms of how they speak, how they communicate, their thoughts, their passions, what their ideas, what they do? Probably very different. I can tell you from personal experience, my parents that are both professors at a university are pretty different to me, making 200 grand a month through sales, business, entrepreneurship. Very different lifestyle. And so it does not make sense for me to try and copy somebody like that because we sound completely different. And the key is humans are extremely good at recognizing when people are inauthentic. That's just the truth. And so if I'm trying to copy some, I won't say any names, a 40 or 50-year-old that's like, has that had an impact on you? I'm gonna sound gay because it makes no fucking sense. That's not how I speak. And so the prospect I'm speaking to is gonna be able to be like, okay, well, that's genuinely not him. That's not his authentic self. He's hiding something. And if they feel like you're hiding something as a salesperson, you're trying to get them to pay $10,000, trust me, it ain't gonna go very well. So instead, what you have to do is you have to take concepts from people and adapt it to yourself. For example, when I started figuring out, okay, I need to use a curious tone in a sales call, rather than being like, oh, this person does a curious tone like that. What I started doing is I noticed when I'm having a conversation with a friend or a buddy in business or whatever it might be, any kind of conversation where I'm genuinely curious about something, how do I react? What's my body language like? What's my posture like? What's my facial expressions like? And for me, I realized whenever I'm curious, I tilt my head and I squint my eyes. So do you like it? Like that's how I naturally sound if I'm trying to be curious. And so then what I had to do is I had to realize, how am I naturally, for all these different types of tonalities, whether it's curious or confident, concerned, challenged, like whatever it might be. And then I started adapting that into the sales process. This made me, #1, way more comfortable on sales calls. It lowered my level of stress, my cortisol, by a ton, so I could actually be listening to what the prospect was saying. But #2, it even noticed people would open up way more with me now because they felt like I was a genuine human trying to help them. So that's #2. Don't try to copy people. Try to actually adapt their style and learn from them. #3, if you ever have sales calls where you notice like, oh, this person person has a limiting belief, like I need to reframe this because if not, they're not gonna buy. The biggest mistake people make in trying to reframe is they either agree or disagree with the prospect. The issue is both are terrible. If you agree with them, now you can't convince them otherwise because you've already told them, yeah, I agree with you. And so now anything you say after seems like you were lying originally or you're lying now, one of the two, right? The issue if you disagree is that now it becomes you versus them. It's combative. And you never want to be in a position where it's you versus them. You want it to be you and them versus the problem that you're trying to solve, which in that case is going to be if you're selling a fitness offer, the fact that they're 50 pounds overweight and have a bad mindset, whatever it might be. And so instead, what you have to try and do is you have to seek to understand without taking a side and then reframe by asking them questions. For example, the best reframe you can use to handle any limiting belief, and you can do this for anyone, is what I call the two-person analogy that I came up with. I'll give you an example. If I ask somebody a consequence question on a sales call, and they're like, oh man, like that's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna let that happen. Like there's not gonna be a consequence because like I'm gonna succeed no matter what. Then I could be like, well, can I make a suggestion, man? Oh yeah, you can make a suggestion. It's kind of like if I took two people, right? And one of them is like, you know what? I don't have a consequence. I'm gonna find a way. This is gonna happen. I'm not willing to explore my consequences, etc. Or I have a second guy who goes, no, man, like I'm gonna slow down and I'm gonna actually think about my consequences. Like if this doesn't work, I'm not gonna be able to provide for my family at the level that I need to. I'm not gonna have the freedom to be able to travel the world and see different cultures and other experiences. And I feel like that's the purpose of my life. And so I'm not gonna be able to do that, which is why I need to succeed. And he's a lot more motivated because of it. Out of those two people, who do you think is actually gonna be more driven to actually succeed? And they'll be like, oh, well, obviously the second person. Well, why though? Oh, because he has more drive, he has more motivations, etc. Yeah, because what do you think happens to the first guy who doesn't have any of the drive or any of the motivation because he's not actually willing to explore a consequence? Oh, well, he's just going to stay stuck, etc. So why are you being the first then, man? Oh, well, I don't know, man. Like, I didn't mean it like that. No, man. Like, slow down for a second. Like, again, my goal is to help you. But I can't want to help you more than you want to help yourself. But again, my entire intent of asking these questions is just to help you actually uncover these things that are driving you, because even from our perspective, who do you think we want to work with as a client? The guy who's not motivated, who's not driven, or the guy who has all the reasons to actually succeed? Oh, obviously the guy who has the reasons to succeed. So again, man, for you, and I'm just going to ask the consequence question again. So notice, what did I do? A two-person analogy. I made two people, and I can use for any limiting belief that I want. I made two people in this theoretical world sandbox, if that's what you're gonna call it. I compared them and the results, and I asked which one's gonna be more successful. They're like the second guy. Did I tell him the second guy's gonna be more successful? Absolutely not. Did I tell him the first guy's gonna be least successful? Absolutely not. I asked him. Because as soon as he agrees and he goes, oh, well, the second guy's gonna be more successful. Then I say, well, why though? I make him justify it. Oh, because of X and Y and Z. And then eventually I get it to the point where I'm asking him, which of those two people do you wanna be? Oh, well, I wanna be the second guy. Great. So now I've gotten him to understand that him telling me a consequence is actually a good thing, because that gives him the drive, the motivation to succeed, versus the first guy doesn't do anything with his life. And so now when I ask him a consequence question again, what do you think he's gonna tell me? He's gonna give me the answer. Because now he views him giving me the answer as a good thing. So that's a perfect example of don't take a side. I never said this is a good belief or this is a bad belief. I never agreed or disagreed. All I did is I posed a theoretical situation and made him tell me which one's better. Because then it's gonna seem like it was his idea to actually have this new belief and this new mindset rather than mine. Next, we have simple analogies versus complex techniques. And this is probably the most important one out of all of them, but I know it's gonna be boring. So please do not allow your infinitely fucking small attention span to let you click off this video, because I promise you, this will change your career. In basic human psychology, people get a dopamine hit from learning new things. And this issue is even a lot bigger for sales reps, because if you're a sales rep, you like the fucking dopamine of making a deal, which means you're a lot more dopamine sensitive. And so you hear some new trigger word, oh, NLP or neuropsychology or whatever the fuck else people talk about these days, and you're like, oh my God, this is gonna change everything for me. No, it's not. It's not gonna change shit. The key, and everybody watching this already knows this, is that the foundations, the basic stuff, are what get you 99% of the results. The issue is, you can know that, but still not use it. But so we have to constantly remind ourselves of these things to actually act in accordance with it so we can get the results that we want. So I can tell you right now for a fact, if you are not doing at least 50K a month in commissions, learning about NLP or psychology or reading studies or books or papers on it is an absolute waste of time. And I'll explain to you why. One of my mentors, who's a billionaire, he told me this and it changed the way I thought about business and sales and everything forever. If I ask you right now, if you improve 10% a month in your sales for a year, for 12 months, how much do you improve? And if you told me 120%, click off this video because you have a fucking mental disability. It's about 17% because it's compounding. Think about it, 10%, then the next month, now you're improving from 110, so it's compounding, it's gonna grow more and more and more. If you do that for 2 years now, you stack it up. If you're improving 30% a month, which honestly, when you're first starting out in sales, is the easiest thing in the world. Even you deciding to go from, I'm gonna work a 9-to-5 job, corporate career, hate my life for the rest of my life, to, great, I'm gonna go into sales, have some financial freedom, etc. That's already more than a 10% increase. Like you just making that mental decision that takes 10 seconds. And so this is where the compounding actually gets so effective. If I have one guy who has a basic structure, like the impact formula, for example, extremely simple, just a basic ass script, and every month, all he does is at the end of every single week, or even every 3 to 4 days, depending on how many calls he's taking per day, obviously, he looks at all of his data and he goes, okay, my lowest data point right now is my show up rate. Great, well, I'm gonna make one change to my confirmation sequence to try and make it better. Then another 3 days go by, he measures it, oh great, that got fixed. Okay, now my next lowest hanging fruit is, I don't know, I get a lot of smokescreen objections. Great, well, I'm gonna add in a deeper consequence question to my process so that I can create more urgency to get less smokescreens. Great, that worked, amazing. What's my next lowest? And he's constantly making these changes, and then obviously if they don't work, then he removes the change and tries a different one. Then that person, stacking up over time, making these constant improvements is gonna have that compounding effect. The issue is when people start focusing on, oh, I'm gonna learn NLP and neuropsychology and all these advanced things, they start getting too excited and they start making dozens of changes at a time to their script or their process or how they speak or all of these different factors, which means that you're no longer having this compounding effect because you no longer have a foundation or a base that you're building on. You're trying to change your entire process or multiple things at once, which is no way to actually track efficient data. So for the love of God, do not try learning all these advanced trigger happy words or concepts that you hear about online. Just focus on the fundamentals and that alone will get you to 100K a month in commissions. Next up, and this is one thing that I've seen with every single phenomenal salesperson that's done over 100K a month in commissions versus the people who have done less. Do not try to handle your prospect's objection. Turn their objection into the objection that you want to handle. Here's what I mean by that. Average sales reps or beginner sales reps, they hear people online talking about, oh, this one reframe or this one-liner or this analogy. And the issue, the mistake that they make is that a prospect will give them an objection and they're gonna react to it. And the issue with that is if they're giving you an objection, you react, then they give you another objection, you react, they give you another objection, you react. Now you're in their world. They're controlling the conversation. They're the only ones who know where it's gonna go next. Instead, if you can convert the objection into the one that you wanna handle, whether, and I'll give you a couple of examples in a second, whether it's perspective or certainty or commitment, whatever angle you want to take, the difference is now I have 20 different objection handles for certainty. You know how many the prospect has? 0. So I'm gonna win because now they're in my world. I'm not in their world. So then the question becomes, well, how do you turn the objection into the one that you wanna handle? So here's how you do it. After, let's say somebody gives me a money objection. I'm gonna go money aside, would you do it? Why would you do it? Because what would that do for you personally, offer a payment plan, everything else. And then I'm gonna be like, so with understanding that it works within your budgetary constraints and you feel like it's gonna get you to that 20K a month goal, how do you like to proceed? And they're gonna be like, number one, they're probably gonna do it. But if they don't do it, they're just gonna be like, oh man, well like it's still a really big commitment. Right? So what objection did they just give me? They give me an objection of this is a big commitment, it's a big risk. But here's what I'm gonna say, because if I respond to that, now I'm in their world. Instead, I'm gonna go, yeah, that makes sense, man, because like what you're seeking ultimately is like certainty, right? Like you'll actually get the result, you'll be safe, everything else. It's very hard to disagree to that. Because if they had absolute certainty, they would do it, which means that fundamentally it is a lack of certainty. But as soon as they agreed to that, now what objection did they really just give me? Oh, well, I have a lack of certainty. And here's the thing, I have fucking a million reframes lined up on how to handle certainty. They have 0. And so now they're in my world, so I'm always gonna win, rather than me being in their world to where I'm always gonna lose. Now you'll hear other people like our CEO, Matt Ryder, or even my partner, my business partner, Yash, you'll hear they love doing perspective. So if somebody gives them a fear objection, they're gonna go, yeah, and that makes sense, man, because like we all make decisions based on our perspective, right? Now, nobody can disagree with that. That's the key. It's a universal statement because everybody makes decisions based on their perspective. You can't say, no, I don't make decisions based on my perspective. Like that makes no sense. And so as soon as they agree, now what are they admitting though? Their objection is really just a current perspective, which means that all you're gonna do after that is now you have a million reframes lined up for perspective. You know how many the prospect has? 0. So you're gonna win. Now they're in your world. The reason it's so important is it goes back to the principle that we were talking about earlier. Number one, obviously now they're in your world, so it makes it a lot easier. But number two, if every single call I'm having to handle different objections and go to different places and all these different things, I'm never really gonna be improving because I can't predict the next objection that they're gonna give me. But if every call I'm able to force them into the objection that I want to handle, now I'm the one in control, and every single call I'm essentially getting the same objection because I'm converting it into the same objection. And so I'm actually able to improve on how do I handle certainty, how do I handle perspective, depending on the one that I want to take. And that'll make you way better at objection handling. So next up, we have don't try to make the conversation logical, make it emotional. Now, the best way to do this, and this is extremely simple, this will take you 10 seconds to change your script to match this. Add context of an outcome to every single one of your questions. For example, At the beginning of a call, I could go, yeah, man, it looks like you scheduled some time at like possible help with your fitness. How can I help? The issue with that is there's no outcome. Versus if I go, yeah, it looks like you scheduled some time at like possible help with kind of like losing some weight, get in better shape, all that jazz. Is that about right? And now they agree to that. So again, what are they now thinking about? The outcome of the call, which is gonna make them more emotional rather than analytical. Another example, when I'm going through a pitch, if you know about the 3-pillar pitch, it's a very, very easy way to pitch, super, super effective. I could go, yeah, man, the first pillar is gonna be the coaching because we're gonna give you the accountability and this and this and that, etc. And the issue with that is, again, I'm just talking about my product. It's very analytical, it's very logical. But instead of that, I could say, yeah, man, so the first pillar is gonna be the coaching because you mentioned X and Y and Z problem earlier. Again, emotion attached to that problem. You mentioned XYZ problem earlier. So what we do is, and then I can give a 10-second description of how that pillar is gonna help solve the specific problems, consequences, and emotions that they mentioned earlier. So all I'm doing again is I'm just adding the context and the emotion behind what they said. That way they're in this emotional side of their brain rather than the analytical and logical side. So that's very, very simple. Now next up, do not try to sell the person you're speaking to. Try and turn them into the person that buys. Here's what I mean by that. People are naturally gonna come to the call with you with a certain identity of who they believe they are. For example, they might come to the call thinking like, oh, I don't make decisions on the spot, or I'm not a risk taker, or I'm not very bold, or I'm not very intelligent. Whatever they think. Those are all bad things, by the way, because for example, if somebody believes, oh, I'm not intelligent, now at the end of the call, they're not gonna trust themselves to be able to make a smart enough decision to actually move forward, even if they believe it's gonna help them. Sigmund Freud, an extremely famous psychologist, has this thing that I really, really like. The strongest force of the human conscious is making decisions based on who we believe we are. And that is, I cannot stress how true that is. If somebody believes, I am the most honest person in the world, I do not lie, I help people, I am the most honest person in the world, they're not gonna go and rob somebody tomorrow because it's not who they believe they are. At the same time, if I take somebody who believes, I am dishonest, I hurt people, I am a criminal, they're not gonna go tomorrow and help a grandma walk across the street because it's not who they believe they are. But if they woke up tomorrow and somehow magically the criminal thought he was the most honest person instead, now he's gonna go help the grandma across the street because now he believes that that's who he thinks he is. So here's how you can use this on a sales call. If somebody has a bad belief or a bad part of their identity, for example, they believe they aren't intelligent, I can call it out. I can be like, well, can I make a suggestion, man? Again, very, very neutral because I gotta reframe it. Yeah, you can make a suggestion. You believe in you're not intelligent, like, how does that benefit you? And they're gonna sit there like, oh, what do you mean? Like, it doesn't benefit me. Exactly, man. So why would you believe in something that doesn't benefit you? And they're gonna be like, oh shit, I guess you're right. That's pretty stupid. And then here's a good reframe you can use even for this, and I use this all the time. When I was in high school, man, like there was a point in time where I was starting to get into the business world, didn't really have any friends because I dropped all of them off. I was trying to become successful. And I walked around all day telling myself like, oh, I'm lonely, I'm depressed, I feel sad, like my life is terrible, I'm depressed. And guess what I felt? I felt depressed. Because I told myself it so many times that I started to believe it. That's the power of the human brain. So the thing for you, man, is if you keep telling yourself, I'm not intelligent, what do you think you're gonna believe? Well, I'm not intelligent. So then how are you gonna make decisions? Well, not very intelligently. And is that a good place to be? Do you feel like that's gonna help you? Well, no, obviously not. So stop doing it, man. And again, what have I done? I've now pushed them away from that bad identity of who they are. So that's the first step. Now the second step is I gotta reinforce the good identities. For example, if somebody tells me, yeah man, like I used to work this 9-to-5 job and I decided to quit it to start this business and blah, blah, whatever it might be, I have to reinforce that. Oh man, like kudos to you, man. Like that shows you're really a risk taker, you're bold. Like a lot of people, they're really hard-headed and they're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna keep doing my career even though I hate it for the rest of my life. And I'm like, it doesn't even make any sense. So me saying that right there, what did I just do? I threw rocks at these people who aren't risk takers, who are hard-headed, etc. And I gave him kudos. I reinforced the identity of, yeah, you're a risk taker, you're bold. That's amazing, man. Because what's that gonna make him do? Oh yeah, I'm amazing, I'm bold, I'm a risk taker. He's gonna feed into it. And so then when I get to the end of the call, how's he gonna make decisions? As the risk taker, as the bold person, which is exactly what I want him to be doing. And so that's another trick of how you can reinforce somebody's identity throughout the call. Now, some very common ones that you can reinforce that are gonna help you a lot are being bold, being a risk taker, being intelligent, caring a lot about other people. Those I'd say are kind of the main four because all of those are gonna benefit you in some way that you can tie back to the pitch with their identity. So I hope that was helpful, guys. Those were just a couple of the main things that really helped me in my career in terms of focusing on the right things rather than focusing on the wrong things. So I had a target of what to actually aim for. And then obviously that put me in the position where I'm in now, being able to make $200,000 a month in the same month that I turned 18. So if that was helpful, I'm on a mission to make real sales education accessible to everybody because, I mean, Clearly, it's changed my life, and I wanted to be able to change yours. So if you look in the description below, there's gonna be a link to a group called the Impact Team. And in there, we have all of my scripts as trainings and breakdowns of every single part of the script, the psychology behind it, absolutely everything. Free coaching sessions, even as live sales call recordings of me and my partner Yash taking sales calls. That way you guys can see how to implement all the stuff that I'm talking about. It even has companies and influencers you can start selling for as soon as tomorrow, regardless of your experience. Again, completely for free, because that is our passion, that is our mission. So go in there, join the group. I'll see you on the other side. But besides that, have a blessed rest of your day.